Secret Invasion episode 3 just dropped. This time, we're going to be talking about spoilers. Let's dive right in. So, this episode opens up with 3 Skrulls. One of the Skrulls we met in episode 1, I think his name was Beto. It opens up with them getting ready to take on the identity of some naval officers, and they're going to infiltrate and set up this attack. You know, the last couple episodes we've been having, they've been doing a lot of attacks. This one is going to be a major attack, and we find out later in the episode that it is if it were to go through, it would be really devastating. From there, Gravik goes into that super chamber that we saw in the last episode, and he shows the council members, all the council members that we met in that last episode, he shows the council members how he's going to be able to stop the Avengers. He shows, in the last episode, we saw Gaia looking down through the computer where we saw Groot's arms and what's the dudes from Infinity War? We saw his arm. We saw the Frost, I think we saw Frost Giant or Frost Beast. We saw all that, and they're using all of those items to empower themselves. We also saw extremist information, and that's going to be in this episode as well. So he shows them how they're going to get the powers, and as that's going on, we see those three Skrulls going to the naval base, and then they're changing and going in. After that, we get a nice little flashback, because remember last episode we saw, oh, Fury has a wife. Not only does he have a wife, his wife is a Skrull. Not only is that his wife a Skrull, is Vara, the lady that introduced Fury to Gravik. So there's a major tie-in right there. But we see a flashback to them in New York in 1998. Fury goes into a coffee shop, and he goes in, he puts his jacket down, the lady asks him for some coffee, and he's getting ready to sit down, but we see this black lady talking to him, and he's responding, not realizing that, oh, this is Vara. So she's like, oh, you want to come sit down with me? He said, you know what, that may look a little way, and she tells him without telling him that she's Vara. One thing about that really stood out to me, she asked, what does she look like? And Fury responded, it depends on the day of the week. So at first I thought they were just flirting. I thought Fury knew, oh, that's my baby, that's who it is, but he didn't know. He didn't know it was her, because she had taken that face recently. But that's the first time she took that form. And from there, right after that sweet and loving moment, we get a time skip to present day, I would say, present day in the MCU. And Fury and Vara, they're in their kitchen where we last saw them. They're in the kitchen cooking breakfast or getting breakfast started or whatever. They're having some nice little banter. But in the midst of that nice little banter, things get real. You know, a lot of people have been wondering, like, well, dang, Fury's been in the space station, but what happened to the blip? How does all of that apply? Because everybody keeps saying Fury left. How does that apply to him being snapped in the blip? But his wife breaks down like, hey, I mourned your loss when Thanos snapped and took everybody away. I mourned your loss. I understand you were gone. That wasn't your choice. But when you came back, you chose to leave me. And that was eye-opening for me, because I'm thinking like, dang, maybe he came back and forth for his lady, but he didn't come back for her. And then the way he was talking to her is like, I retired, man. Like, dog, that's your wife. You retired and you just left. You left your wife. And she mentioned that she knows she was dealing with the ultimate spy. She knows he wasn't gonna be right there every day, but he didn't even come back. And that's some weight right there. But as they start talking, Fury starts, doing the ultimate spy stuff. He starts asking her questions like, have you been in contact with Gravik? Because remember, Gravik was introduced to Fury by Vara. So Fury's mind is like, okay, you know what? I've been going all this long time. Have you been in contact with Gravik? What are you doing? And that would be a legitimate question to ask, because I didn't know this dude until you introduced me to him. You know what I mean? But they have a big tiff right there, and I don't fault them for asking that question. I do fault him for like, dog, you left your lady on, you left your lady for the longest amount of time. But from there, Robert gets suspicious of Gaia. It flashes to their compound, and he's in her room, and he's talking to her and talking about the dude that Gravitt killed in the last episode. But he's talking to her about, hey, these people know where our compound is. I only told a certain amount of people. How does he know that? And she was able to shift the focus off of her back to the dude that was dead by saying, man, you know what? He made an educated guess. He didn't know where everybody was gonna be. He made an educated guess and put that information out there. And he was like, Rapper was like, well, what would you have done in that situation? She said, I would have lied. The way she did that was so cold because she took all of the focus off of her. She took all the focus off of her in just those quick little moments. But Gravitt was still a bit skeptical of her. And we see that throughout the episode. After that part happens, Gravitt and Gaia fly out to, I guess they're in London. They fly out to London. As they're driving there, Gravitt gets a call and talks about the plan for what's going to happen later on in the episode. Well, Gaia takes down that information. As Gravitt is going into the museum, he meets Talos. They're by a painting. They're painting, and that painting sets up their ideologies. You have statesmen and you have soldiers. Gravitt identifies himself as a soldier, and he looks at Talos like a statesman. Like, man, you ain't doing that, man. Y'all just want the glory. Y'all ain't doing that. Y'all not putting y'all bid in. And they have a conflict of ideology. They're talking, and it gets real heated. Then it shifts focus to where they were sitting at the table. But Gravitt just like slowly starts throwing little insults, and he keeps, in a sort of way, he keeps threatening Gaia. And Taylor's like, hey, bro, you're gonna keep my daughter's name out your mouth. And he reach over and grab her. And as he reaches over to grab it, you see all the Skrulls that have been around the whole time, like the whole Skrull population. And you can see that it was set up that way, to happen that way, to let Talos know, like, dog, you're not in control no more. I'm in control. You don't even know what's going on. You don't even realize when your own people are around you. That's what I took it as. You don't even realize I got our people around as my security detail. From there, Gravitt threatens Gaia again, and Talos gets up, he grabs a knife, he stabs Gravitt right in the hand, and he chokes him by the throat and says, listen, I'm not gonna let you're not gonna do what you wanna do. Basically, I'm just, paraphrasing. Don't put my daughter's name in your mouth no more. After he does that, he walks off. But as he's walking off, the audience can see Gravitt is pulling his hand out of the knife, and it's not even affecting him. It didn't even hurt. And also, his blood was bleeding red. It wasn't purple. He's pulling his hands out, but as he's pulling his hands out, we can see the extremis fluid in his hand, just like in Iron Man 3. So as Talos is going out, he gets bumped into by this guy, which turns out to be Gaia, who drops the burner phone that we talked about earlier. From there, Talos goes to a diner or a pub, to get some breakfast. He's sitting there eating breakfast, and then we see Fury walk in. Once Fury walks in, he said, man, you sitting there eating that dog food? Talos like, bro, I lost my appetite. But Fury is talking to him like ain't nothing happened. And Talos sitting there like, bro, nah, you're not finna come in here and just tell me something. Nah, bro, you're gonna have to apologize to me. You got to apologize to me. And he basically tells him, he says, listen, I got this information, man. You know what I'm saying? I got this information. We need to do this. And Talos looking at him like, I'm just supposed to jump up because you said you want me to do this? No, I'm not doing that. You're gonna have to tell me you need my help, and you can't do this without me. Fury gets up and walk away like he's going to leave, but in actuality, he humbled himself down and says, hey, you know what? I need your help, and I can't do this without you. And I don't think we've ever seen that from Nick Fury. What we're seeing right now in this show, we're seeing a major vulnerability of Nick Fury, man, because counting that he's been off world for 5 years with the blip, and then he's been away from Earth. They have not specified how long he's been away from Earth, but he's been away from Earth for so long, we don't know what's, his ears are not to the ground like they used to be. From there, we can see that their relationship is really strained. Then, as they're leaving, Fury calls that lady we saw in the first episode. He gets the information from her about who the guy is in control of the Neptune submarine that they're trying to stop from blowing up the plane. They get the information of Commodore Robert Fairbanks. As they're riding in the car, they have a major heart-to-heart conversation. Talos is basically explaining to Fury that, dude, you would not be the Nick Fury that you are unless we, the Skrulls, had not helped you. Myself, Talos, and the 19 other Skrulls that came down with me, you would not be the Nick Fury that you are without us. And I can see Talos' point, because everything that we know about Nick Fury is spy and intel and all that stuff. How did he get it? You know what I mean? Looking back, since they retroactively changed everything in Captain Marvel, to have the Skrulls helping him, that makes sense. After that, they arrive at the Fairbanks home, but shortly after arriving, Talos his cover gets blown, because he's in the form of the Fairbanks dude, but one of the guards comes out and say, I just saw you inside. But then Talos switches out, he goes back into his main form and starts fighting. And then we realize that, oh, that's a Skrull guard. And all the guards around are Skrulls. So they have to start fighting. Fury has to run in there and help them, because as Fury is going up, we hear Talos say, hey, Nick, everything's okay. And then Fury says, oh, copy that. But we remember from Captain Marvel that nobody calls Nick Fury Nick. Everybody call him Fury. So he goes up there and he gets the Fairbanks dude's son. And he put the gun to him like, hey, dog, nobody call me Nick. Everybody call me Fury. And then he holds the gun to his head and he's like, hey man, you give me mine, I'm gonna give you yours. So they switch and they tie everybody up. Here's something that really stood out to me. Talos offered the little boy some water. He offered him some water, but the little boy didn't want the water. So that indicates to me that although the Fairbanks dude is a Skrull, that little boy is still a regular human being. You know what I'm saying? With Talos trying to console him and let him know, hey, your dad gonna be all right. This is the situation. You know, because had that been a Skrull, he wouldn't have showed, I think he would have showed mercy with him being a Skrull, because he is a Skrull. But this little human boy doesn't have anything to do with this, doesn't know anything about any of this going on. While that's going on, Fury's interrogating Fairbanks, but it's not working. Like, his tactics aren't working. And we're starting to see I don't know if it's rust on Fury, but the things that he typically does that typically works are not working. And he's very irritable. And Talos starts, hey, let me deal with it. But they have a clash. It's like both of them, they can't let their egos go. They can't work. They're not able to work together at that moment in time. And Talos tries to reassure Fairbanks, like, hey, listen, man, you tell me what's going on. I'll protect you. And Fairbanks like, bro, you can't even protect yourself. How are you going to protect us? You can't even protect your daughter. How are you going to protect us? During that time, the Skrulls that we saw earlier, they're sitting on the submarine and they're talking about, hey, we got to do this launch. The human captain like, what? Why are we about to attack the United Airlines? Why are we about to do that? United Nations Airline. Why would we do that? But the Skrull keep pressing him like, hey man, these orders came in. You gotta do that. You gotta do it. And they trying to push the launch. During that time, Talos is trying to get the code, but he can't get the code. He can't get the code from the dude. So he ends up shooting the Skrull. Then he calls Gaia. Gaia gets the codes and sends them to Talos. Once she sends them to Talos, she quietly tries to leave the compound. As he's leaving that compound, Rabbit flips his lights, and we realize, oh man, it's been a trap the whole time. This whole situation has been a trap the whole time. So she slides off the bike and falls down. Once she falls down, Rabbit gets out of the car and basically explains, like, you know what, we could have used their airline or whatever, but I needed to find out who the mole was. I needed to find out who was betraying us. And he tells her to turn around. But she's like, nah, bro, you gonna shoot me? You gonna shoot me in front of you? I'm gonna stand in front of you, and you gonna realize, am I fighting for Skrulls or am I fighting for myself? And in the middle of that, he shoots her. As she falls down, you hear her body changing back to her Skrull form. But from there, it fades to black. Then we shift our focus back to Vara, Fury's wife. It shows that she's in the process of going somewhere. We see her moving frantically. She's going through the airport and all that stuff. As she's going through, we can see through the camera view that there's somebody following her. As she walks by, she sees the dude to the left, and as she keeps on walking, she sees the dude behind her, Then they go to like a security. She goes to a security detail, like a security box area. Once she's in that security box area, the guy gives her what's in her security box and walks out. As he's walking out, she opens up the box and it's a gun. And she's picking up the gun, she's looking at the gun, and that's all that's in there is the gun. And she gets a phone call, and you can hear a man on the phone says, St. James Church, 1 hour. And she says, I need to speak to Grabbit. And he says, well, you're talking to me. And the voice sounds like James Rose. Y'all don't know Don Cheadle. The voice sounds like Don Cheadle. Confirming, but not confirming, because it could be somebody mimicking his voice. It sounds like Don Cheadle, man. So with everybody saying that they think that Rose is a Skrull, I'm definitely in agreement that I think Rose is a Skrull. So I think this episode definitely brought the heat. It did not put me to sleep. It was a little slower like the first episode, but we got so much more in this episode, and I'm definitely looking forward to the next episode because this one definitely brought the heat. But those are my spoilery thoughts on episode 3 of Secret Invasion. What did you guys think? Did it bring that heat for you, or did it put you to sleep? Drop it down in the comment section and let me know your thoughts. If you enjoyed my review, make sure you do me this favor. Hit the like button, subscribe, and share. Also, be sure to check out my previous videos right here. With that said, Mr. Big Kid Tavy, I'll let y'all later.